Well, here we are. Leadership uncertain. Hugh, a few years ago, I was very surprised by the response that I got to a LinkedIn post. And I don't remember now whether it was just a post and inviting people's comments. I think it was a poll wherein essentially I asked the question, uh, if you knew it was not any kind of romantic meaning or any kind of romantic or sexual advance, would you want to hear from people that you work with that they love you? And I remember being surprised by the number of people who said no.
Yeah.
So I thought today we might talk about that four-letter word, love, and what is love's role in leading your team?
I remember graduating from high school, and there was a teacher that I invited to there was a special dinner that the county had for all the valedictorians of all the high schools in the county. And I happened to be the valedictorian of my school, and then there was a teacher that I wanted to invite. She was my ninth grade world history teacher.
Mm,
And we'll just call her Miss G. Miss G was one of the best teachers ever that I ever had. She was my world history teacher in ninth grade, and she brought history to life for me.
mm.
She also held the belief that I was not smart enough to get into the academically focused high school that I really wanted to go to.
How about that?
And the reason that she gave for thinking that I was not like I didn't have the chops to do well at the school, much less graduate as the number one student, was that I was too much of a social butterfly. Her
Mm.
words, not mine. And because I was a social butterfly and because I had this engaged, charismatic enthusiasm for my fellow students, clearly I wasn't focused on academics nearly enough to the level that was necessary for domination, as was the way back in the day. She gave me a book at my graduation ceremony, and in the book, she inscribed the word that describes you is agape. And so, as you were saying the premise today, I thought of the word agape. And if you look at the definition, it is a general, abiding love for humanity and human beings.
Mm.
And I happen to believe that the best relationships that we can have professionally, well, I was in an interview once, and I remember the interviewee saying something that caught my attention. He said, I really focus on professional relationships, and this is what it means to be in a business relationship. And I thought about that for a second, and I realized it hurt my brain. And I realized I thought, wait a second, we don't really have business relationships. That just sounds odd. That sounds inauthentic. What I
Mm.
realized is that the best relationships that I have are really great relationships with the context of business. And so I have a feeling that what we are not talking about is the emotion of agape, which
Mm.
is the abiding respect and love and honoring and appreciation and self reflection that comes from being in interaction with another human being with a context of business. What we have is a real debate around the word and what
Mm.
that word means to people. Because I would be willing to bet you that people want to feel deep, connected, dignifying, engaging, respectful, appreciative energy, aka agape, from the people that are around them. They just don't want to confuse that with a word that means something different at church, at home, with family, otherwise. That
I
would be
think
my contention.
I think you're right about that. I do think that for the most part, while there are people, and we could talk about how it comes to be that they would say this. There are people who would say, kind of like the fellow you talked about, I, I'm just here for business. I don't need any of that stuff. All I want is focus on what we're doing, get it done, not bring any of that outside stuff. I think there are a few people. There are definitely, and by a few I mean proportionally few people who
Sure.
would say that. And I would agree with you that for the most part, people want to experience appreciation, value, care from and for the people in their work lives.
Yes, especially with any kind of team effort for which you sacrifice and you do things that are unexpected to get to a goal. When you sacrifice and you come through the fire with someone, you ask for help, you get it. You are asked for help, you give it. You
Mm.
do things that are outside the context of simply doing what you're supposed to, and you dig deep and you are celebrated as hero, as a valiant warrior
Mm.
for the purposes of whatever your community is asking you to do. It elevates, it speaks to a level of, it speaks to a deeper part of our humanity that we get to contribute in certain ways. And so where I have been able to generate and cultivate and defend a culture of excellence in my own company, where I wish I could pay them all more. At the same time, people stay because there be heroes. And
Mhm.
we look for opportunities for there to be heroes. And there are deadlines and there are dragons. And we have hard customers that push us to our very limits. And we are grateful for them because they cause us to be defensive. And there are enemies outside. And
Mm.
we get to focus on them, not from a place of malice,
Mm.
but from a place where we now command excellence from everyone who plays the game with us. So it is so much more than a job. You get to create things and have an identity and own certain parts of this business if you so choose. And you are celebrated and respected as an elder when the time comes. So that way and I'm very proactive at creating this as an environment where I may not always be right, but if you can defend your ideas, you can show up, you can give, you can be ready to admit that you're wrong, you can show humility. We have places in the business where we share wins that are personal. I want to hear about the fact that your son had tooth surgery and that he's recovering well, or the fact that you went for a really great walk on the beach with your wife. These are important details that give us context for who you are as a full-throated human being showing up. And I'll end my tirade with the following. I will tell you that during an interview, I will tell the interviewee who's coming to work for us that I'm not simply hiring an extension of skill sets that's simply wrapped in skin. You are not an extension of the function that you are here to serve. That's not the reason you are here. You are a human being with dreams and focuses and nightmares and insecurities and talents and untapped potential, and I have no idea what you're going to enjoy when you come to work here. I do know where you're going to start and what you're going to initially be responsible for. That's all I know. And my job is to continue asking you questions and putting you in front of enough people that you will actually find the thing that you're here to do. And it might not be here, it might be somewhere else, but we're still on that drive of exploration. And then I tell stories of heroes in the business that they will meet that have come a similar path. And once we kind of get out of the boxes of where we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to act, we then get into opportunities for creativity with the context of a business application. And opportunities for creativity and connection with a business backdrop sounds a lot like that L word to me, as long as you're not willing to freak people out with it.
And so for those of us who may not have gone on the leap with you, how is everything that you just said maybe akin to maybe actually love?
Ah, okay. So now we have an opportunity to parse words and play with definitions.
Yeah.
When you say the word love in that context, I think of there are a couple different flavors that we get to experiment with that still have professional applications, right? And this is where I think we get to be disciplined and rigorous in how we think and how we present the information, but just also leave room for the fact that at the end of the day, no matter how professional you seek to be, there is still a human being sitting within your skin, and there's still a human being sitting on the other side of the conversation. So we get to be caring for how they feel. We get to be alert and aware of and have sensory acuity about how we frame the world and the experience that they're having with us, because we stand to infect them with our enthusiasm and our leadership and our guidance and our clarity of thought, or we can be overpowered or overtaken by theirs, or a combination of the above. And recognizing that a human interaction with a business context can be optimized when there's attention, kindness, grace, effectiveness, and focus on the objective at hand. All of those things, if you simply change the domain, that's functionally what love is in almost any other category. Think about what you feel for your kid. Again, you're a parent, you're not their friend. You have care for how they evolve, you care about how they develop, you care about what they're doing, you care that they are focused on things that don't hurt them, you care that you're keeping them safe and protected. These are all the same activities we do as a boss. We just give it a different domain and we use slightly different adjectives. It's the same skill set, just different distinctions in the details that are delivered. So in my mind's eye, the skill set is transferable. The context and what details are available to the context. If I'm interacting with a loved one that happens to be my romantic partner, there are different boundaries for what I can physically do to show affection to that person. But you better believe I'm giving mental high fives to my production managers when they're kicking butt and taking names. I just don't have the same range of behavioral context to be able to engage them. But it's the same kind of, let's build something together, let's be together, let's be connected, let's be focused on a singular goal together. And I want to understand and appreciate who you are as a person, bringing the complement of all your experience to solving the problems at hand. And that to me is the very fabric of it, what it means to engage human connection when we are solving problems together.
So we had a team meeting, a bunch of folks on the call, in which one of the people on my team, because some of us were meeting each other for the first time, introduced herself and her function in the company, right? Her responsibility, her title, and said, and I don't know that I'm doing that at this point. I'm really more focused over here. And it just gave me an opportunity to say how much her focus over here really supported the objective of that role.
Right.
And later, she told me how she felt loved in that moment. And there's something, we hear that word, and to your earlier point, I think there's such an easy temptation to go into all of this deeply freighted stuff. And I just think it really has to, there's so much of love that is simple. I see you. I appreciate you. I value you. No matter what comes, I want the best for you.
I will. I was about you and I are on the same wavelength. So in my world, I give you the translation of everything you just made in that last point. To me, comes back as I see you, I hear you, you matter.
All that.
At depth, that to me is analogous to the L word.
Right on.
And the rest is just the packaging, right? If people don't like the word love, that's okay. I'm comfortable using it because I'm weird like that. But if
I'm
they're if
comfortable also, as
but
you might have noticed, right?
but in the case that, you know what, instead, if it is better functioning for folks to feel like, okay, I see you, I hear you, you matter, in the words of Oprah, so be it.
Yeah.
Then we're not going to mince over the words that can create division. We're going to simply focus in on the relevant, effective, emotional, we're going to call it resource distribution, because that's what it is, right? We're literally sharing that which causes us to become more, and it's the fuel that
Yeah.
allows for amazing things to happen. You better believe that it's a lot of love that goes into the work that we do so that our customers have great experience, not just good experiences, not to be simply satisfied, but fantastic art. When your work has so much passion and investment that it becomes art like. That is fueled only with this emotion slash feeling slash inspiration that I'm talking about, the
I,
intangible.
I love that idea of art like, and I'm thinking right now, I think almost exactly 2.5 years ago, I went to the emergency room, heart palpitations, racing heartbeat. Turned out I had AFib, atrial fibrillation. It had been going on for years, undiagnosed. And I won't get into the feelings that I have about it's having gone undiagnosed that long. I went in the evening, and by the following night, it was determined that I was going to have surgery. I was going to have atrial uh, ablation. So it's going to thread a catheter, through my vascular system into my heart and cauterize some nerves to control this electrical impulse that was going a little haywire. Highly specialized uh, surgery.
Mm.
Have you ever had surgery or had a medical specialist? Right? These folks are they do not have time to waste, so to speak. Right?
Mm.
So my surgeon came in uh, after all of his days surgeries. It was fairly late at night, and he sat down, which was kind of astonishing. Sat down in my hospital room to talk with me about the plan and my options. And my wife was there, had been there earlier in the day, was there now by Zoom. And before he left, he said, I just want you to know something. And he turned to me, looked me in the eye, and he said, I love you.
Mm.
And he turned to the iPad, where my wife was on Zoom, and he said, I want you to know I love you too.
Mm.
And that was sort of the last things he said to us. I still have not said or heard another word from that fella.
But he fixed you up.
He fixed me up.
There you
And the
go.
next day, his nurse, who had not been there when he had been there the night before, she came in and she said, he probably said to you, and it makes some people really uncomfortable. He probably said, I love you. I want you to know he meant it,
Yeah,
which was not something I needed to be told. I could
you could
I
tell.
could feel it. Yeah.
Well, and let's appreciate this. His job was to literally keep you alive.
It, my heart, not literally, was in his hands, literally almost. Right?
And so imagine, and again, we're talking about effective use of resources. Okay, let's put the full sterilization on this. Let's remove the meaning and all of the beautiful the meaning that you took from the exercise, and let's distill it into its functional parts.
His job as my surgeon,
Yes.
if that's what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if I may,
Please.
he is measured on outcomes,
Yes.
right? Tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, how is your patient doing?
Yes. So let's
For
I'm sorry,
the moment,
go ahead.
we take for granted that I believed him.
Sure.
Is that going to have an impact on my level of stress for the next 12 hours while I'm waiting for surgery? Is that stress going to have an impact on my outcome? The answer is in both cases yes.
Okay.
It is a highly functional way, I would guess, for him to spend time and effort and focus just in terms of patient outcomes, to say nothing of the.
Well, let's take it from a different angle. Let's say you don't even matter as the patient. When you give one of your classes, when you are in flow and you are delivering one of your trainings,
Yes.
do you feel a sense of connection to the people that you're speaking with?
Oh, 100%. In fact, the more in love I am with these people, the more, and you've seen me do this, the more I
Yes.
pick up on.
This is not an accidental question, my friend.
I know. The more I pick up on what's happening in the room. I mean, think about, if we think about romantic love just for a moment, right? We all have had the experience of falling in love, and all of the details of their face, of their facial expressions, they all of a sudden matter.
Yes.
And so when I fall in love with a group of people whom I'm training, then when somebody goes for half a moment, one of 20 people that shouts in my ear.
So
and because they matter, I've got to address it. And I get to address it. And they, more often than not, experience that they've been seen and heard and that they matter.
Okay, so let's work with that now. So this is not about them. This is not about their outcomes. This is not about them being improved. And honestly, this is a skill set. So it doesn't matter if it lasts or what it meant. And it doesn't stop it from being any less real just because it's temporal. You said you've never heard from him again, and it truly doesn't matter. But you asked a very important question at the beginning of this, and believe me, I have not lost thought. You asked, how do we make it useful? How do we make it useful? How do we navigate the force, the power, and I'm going to use a couple of terms interchangeably, agape and passion, focus, attention, all live in the same, it's all in the same spectrum for me. So functionally for the surgeon, what state would he likely need to be so that he is able to do his best work? When he's disconnected,
same
and
deal,
simply neutral, or if he brings himself to a level of emotional commitment such that the object upon which he is executing the surgery is effectively receiving the same kind of care, focus, passion, clarity, precision that comes with passion being a
100%.
part of the mix.
It's very easy, I would imagine, for somebody, and he's done, and I did the calculations
Thousands.
at that time, 10 to 15,000
yes.
of these operations. It is very easy, I would think, from the things that I've done that I've done that repetitively, to get into some generic autopilot mode.
Yes.
And as I've done thousands of some of these courses that we teach, I think certainly hundreds, It would be easy for me to go, okay, right, I know the
Got
steps.
it.
Yeah,
Got it.
mechanically get this done easy peasy. And by falling in love with me or by falling in love with my students, all the idiosyncratic details come into full relief, which creates just it's a feedback loop of presence. You get present through love. All the idiosyncratic details come into high relief, which just helps you fall in love all over again. Idiosyncratic details come into high relief, and some of them need responses.
I'm going to give you an analog in my world. So I have stopped preparing for sales calls. I stopped.
Yeah.
Stopped completely. At this point, I've done maybe 4,500 sales calls, maybe 5,000 at this point. There's just so many. And I used to prepare for them because what we do is I'd look up the company and I'd look up the form they sent in and I would study it all and I would be ready to talk through all the things that I read on the form. And what I realized is after a while, all of them started to just look the same. And I would show up and I would know the answer and I would forget to ask the questions.
Yeah.
And so what I've now realized is okay, I am now prepared for any conversation on any scope in the realm of my work. I'm now, a 10,000 hour thing. It's not about the time, it's about the focused, passionate, connected work that you do over and over and over again until you can't get it wrong. Like it's not
Yeah.
even about trying to get it
How
right
much have you
anymore.
myelinated these synapses?
Exactly. So now I can migrate data. I can think my way through any modular approach to any data migration scope on any scale. And we've migrated governments and we've migrated restaurants. So it's like, for me at this point, all of it is pretty much the same. And what I now do is I go into a sales call and I will, on purpose, not read the forms that came in because I don't want to be on autopilot. I don't want to know the answers. I want to meet the people. I want to hear what they have to say. I want to ask the question, not what do you want? And I asked this question for the last 10 years and people still chuckle at me. I don't ask, what would you like to have with your data migration? I ask, what can we at Platform Transition do to make your world a better place to live? It's not about the data migration. And sometimes once in 1,000 answers, I'll get, you know what? I need all this other stuff. And then we realize you don't need a data migration. You need to go take care of some other crap first. Let me introduce you to 2 other people. Come back, talk to us in 6 months when you solve this other problem, and then we can talk. And strangely enough, every time that that's happened, they've come back, they've paid us money to do the work, and they feel served and heard and seen in ways that otherwise could not be replicated. And so I realized, like you, I get to be in the room. And just because I'm an expert at what I do, it does not relieve me of the responsibility of being present, gracious, humble, and here in this room. And I'm
Yeah.
going to go out on a dare and say, to the extent that you can be joyfully present, is the extent that you will find connection with this other human being, see yourself in them, and hear them, not just for the
Mm.
words they say, but for the silences between their words. And when somebody can feel that you are here like this, you won't,
Yeah.
maybe you don't like the love word, but guess what's showing up? You're going to feel like you're closer to them. They're going to feel like they're closer to you. You're going to want to solve their problem. They're going to want you to solve their problem because they're going to say, this guy or girl gets it. They understand me. They're the only ones that have listened to me. I don't care that the competitor costs 10 times less. This person understands me at a level that I have not experienced, quote unquote, before. We used to have I think I told you about this. We used to have a customer service technique when I owned the stores in North Carolina. It was called a moment of dignity. It was 30 seconds. Effectively, we taught our employees when a new customer came to the window, they take a breath with their diaphragm, they
Mm.
feel the skin underneath the breath for about 5 seconds, they breathe out, they look the person in the eye, And for up to 20 seconds, they have the opportunity to talk about anything that doesn't have to do with the transaction. 20 seconds. That 20 seconds at scale across 5 stores grew our business to making over $25,000 a month. And then it was $25,000 a month extra in profit after a couple of years. We were able to sell that business for a record profit because people would bring us their grandmothers. People who were in the fields would say, this is the best conversation I have all day. And we didn't tell them what to talk about. We just had them be real.
And now I want to go look it up again. It reminds me of a case study I read once about of all industries, in some ways, maybe some of the same clients, some of the same sense of tension of a collection company that would call people and deliberately elevate their dignity to such an extent that they just, they blew up.
I have a personal story with that. So I had a business go really bad back in 2012, and I had a series of partners, and one of those partners ended up declaring bankruptcy. This is a while ago. And in that bankruptcy, there was a line of credit that was associated with that person, but also with the business. So when he declared bankruptcy, the line of credit kind of went into this dormant state. So you couldn't pay on it because it was tied up in bankruptcy, but it was still outstanding and it was associated with him and his proceedings. So you couldn't call on it. You couldn't do anything with it. So after about 6 years, his bankruptcy went away. I was still a guarantor on the loan, and it came back to life. So the collector at the bank started calling me saying, hey, you opened this loan 7 years ago. You haven't paid on it. Well, it was in bankruptcy for 5 of those years, what you're talking about. And they're like, well, now you have to make payments on this thing, even though the business has failed. It doesn't matter. You need to take care of this. And
that's the opposite of elevating.
Well, it started off that way, and then it went through the different people at the bank. And then there was one lady, her name was Jean. Jean called me, and she was a tough lady. At the same time, Jean and I had a conversation in which I don't know exactly how this happened, because I felt, you know what, I was part of the team that borrowed this money 10 years before, whenever it was, like 8 years before. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but at the same time, it was enough to be uncomfortable, and it would take years to pay it off. And I had already been on the fence saying that, yes, paying it off was the right thing to do, even though it was associated with a business that failed. She got me to start making payments. And I said, okay, I will support the decision. And she was cordial, firm, engaging enough to make this work. Now, this would have been an unrecoverable loan because it was against a business that had failed and there was no personal tying to it. At the same time, there was a call to morality, but at the same time, it was engaging and there was a reason for me to be my word. That was like 2017 when this all kind of happened. Would you believe that when COVID came, Jean was the only person to call and reach out to us saying, hey, there's this program called the PPP, and we're helping businesses out there that might need help during COVID. My regular bankers didn't have crap for us. My secondary bankers couldn't give a crap about us. Jean, the lady who had the collections from this place, we had built a bit of a relationship over the 2 years that I was making payments on this delinquent loan that was, with this failed business. She was the only person to be there with the program, and it was with her help that we were able to get the necessary funds to get through the COVID era. And we finished paying off the 5-year loan, like, I don't know, like a month, like 7 or 8 months ago. And I sent a message to Jean, and we were in touch for years. I got to learn about her grandkids and about, all the different parts of her life. And I would every year send her a message just thanking her that if it wasn't for her input and her follow-up and her follow-through and her commitment to the well-being of her clients, even the ones that were delinquent on loans that they were collecting on, that our business would have had a good likelihood of failing when we needed the help the most. Tell me what that means.
Well, there are those maybe who are watching or listening who are asking themselves, I thought we were talking about the role of love and leadership. Like, what the heck is this? And I'm fairly sure that in one of our past episodes, we've had conversations about how everything is sales. Right? Here we are. We're talking about, she sold you on the idea that you should be making this payment. And she sold you by giving you dignity. And I think it's Roosevelt said, nobody cares how much you know
until they know how much you care. That is Gene.
And all of the rationale in the world is going to fall on deaf ears when people don't feel seen, heard, that they matter. It sounds like she convinced you in some way that you mattered enough that her rationale could penetrate. And then come COVID, she proved that you matter by thinking to call you.
Reaching out to all kinds of folks, including the ones that were on this list. And she didn't need to. She had we had no other relationship with this bank other than this loan that we were paying off.
Yeah.
And so, you know,
I had a very distinct experience around COVID and the PPP. I called my banker, who, knowing that the PPP existed, saying, we need to get this. She said, let me look into it. Came back with an email saying, I've talked to my boss, you don't qualify. And I wrote her back and said, got it. It seems as though on this basis that you explained a little bit, we don't qualify. I'd love the opportunity to talk with your boss. And just to learn a little bit more and to make a connection. And she, one line back, I already told you I talked to my boss.
Whoa. Hope you're not doing business.
So I reached out
Hope
to
you're
my
not
friend.
doing business with that bank anymore.
I reached out to my friend whom I know cares about me. He bent over backwards to help me in ways that I'm sure were not worth
his time ever.
The squeeze. And when I say friend, I don't mean like I reached out to the buddy that I hang out with. I mean, there's a banker that I know. We've had a nice connection over the years. We're fond of each other. I don't know his kids' names. He doesn't know mine. It's not like we have that kind of friendship. And yet, even at this time when all bankers everywhere were busy as hell, he took time. And ask me how many people I've introduced to him in order to help them get their SBA loans. Right? It's like, because I can say with a very high degree of certainty, Paul Long at Gisa Credit Union is gonna take care of you.
Proved it.
Whether he can help you directly or indirectly, if there is anything Paul can do, Paul gives a crap about you and he's going to make your life better. You should talk to my buddy Paul Long at Gisa Credit Union.
Excellent.
And notice here I am, on my platform now saying his name and company deliberately twice out loud.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and strangely enough, those people give me permission to follow my instincts of also being kind and loving, especially when it's not deserved.
Amen.
Especially when whoever is supposed to be there, quote unquote, doesn't deserve it. That's when we need the most help, is when you can't justify it being deserved.
Right. Which is why or at least it's related to earlier. I said, whatever were all the things that I said, and come what may, I want the best for you. I think of employees I've fired. I love them.
Yeah.
I think of employees that I've or other people that I've parted ways with in ways that were maybe in the end acrimonious. I want the best for them. I really, really do.
And strangely, when we talk about distilling the ingredients, right? This is not about them. This is about how you get to practice showing up, regardless of whether they see the value or not. It is our responsibility as leaders to marshal our resources. And here's the point I was going to make. If you have tools in your toolkit, let's use them. And I think passion, focus, connection, human dignity are all tools in the toolkit. They are all available 100%. For you to be a far more effective human being that happens to be in a business context. This is about living as a human being and pointing in the direction of business and going, okay, I'm going to use this to allow another human being to walk around and see themselves for the oak tree that they are in the seedling. I get to show up and I get to provide direction to someone who is looking to show themselves that they can do something they didn't know how to do before. And all I have to do is simply be the space for them to recognize, oh my gosh, I'm talented and I'm focused and I've got this. And I too can be a hero like Carlos. I too can be crazy intelligent like Guy. I too can create peace like Jenny. These are people on my team that are known for bringing intelligence, bringing focus, bringing clarity, bringing solutions, seeing through stuff, seeing around corners. And then when they're asked to do the impossible, they call their friends. And this is so much more. And then we bring it and we focus it on business and we talk and we call it professional. It's so much more. This is the human experience and how we are burning life juice. Only have 85 summers. Let's go. We got stuff to do. We got empires to build or molehills, whichever or maybe sandcastles, because that's your thing. Who knows? All of it is your time and effort being used and chewed up while we're spending time on this little rock covered by a thin sheet of atmosphere hurtling through the death of space. If you want to forget what's actually happening, right?
Yeah, right.
So I don't know. I say all of that to bring our attention back to the fact that, okay, so we have a business context and we have things that we get to do and we get to utilize all of ourselves to be effective, compassionate, engaging, uplifting human beings. Why? Because it delivers the best sustainable results. Not because we're interested in being airy-fairy. That's wonderful too, be a great human being. But if we want to make sure that it makes sense, especially in a world that's going to be completely changed by AI, all we have as human beings is the ability to engage and uplift and look for the best results in other people. And the way to do that is to authentically connect. We don't have a choice.
And you say too, the like, as I was talking about people from whom we've parted ways, and I wish them well. And they don't know that. I mean, I told them. They don't know the truth of it. They don't know that I still think of them. And that I am still actively, passionately wishing them well. It's while it in some cosmic way, who knows? Does it have some impact on their lives for the better? Maybe. The point is, it tangibly has an impact for the better on my life. And I'll give you a brief illustration that I promise will get there. I remember asking my daughter, name a spot on this thing. It wasn't this, but name a spot. Like, just pick one spot where it's going to balance perfectly. Right? And she's like, I don't know. Like, that's going to be hard. She could guess, but she didn't feel very confident. I was like, okay, name a spot where it's going to tip this way as opposed to tipping this way. And she's like, oh, over here, easy. Great. I said, that's what it takes to be on time. Right, on time is this one spot. Anywhere you are over here, you're gonna be on time. The way this connects is, as you were talking about it, it's for me, it's for us. The way we choose who we are going to be is, and I forget who it was who said, holding resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Right. And so there's a valid question to be saying, like, between love and resentment, what's that middle spot? Like, what's on time? Pretty damn hard, dare I say, impossible target to hit. And even if you hit it, you can't hang out there because life is going to push you around. Right. Memory is going to push you around. If you are solidly in the love camp, then there you are, not drinking poison and expecting the other guy to die.
And those are also, I don't know how I got fuzzy all of a sudden, but here we are. Those are really important skills, because I think I shared with you when I was 18 or 19, my favorite comedian, I don't remember his name. I cannot find him online and I cannot find the resource, but I tell you, there was something that was so different about him. He was deaf, a deaf comedian. And I only saw one show ever broadcast on some television program and then never again. And I even changed my language patterns to mimic his because I was so affected. He would tell a joke from on stage with the lights in his face, and he would say, "That's funny to me." That's funny to me.
That's excellent.
That's funny to me. And so I actually for the next decade would tell a joke and say, "That's funny to me." And here's why I found that so impactful. This is a guy that has no sense of feedback. He has nothing.
Can't see because the lights are in his eyes. Can't hear the feedback because he's deaf.
So he tells jokes that he finds funny so that he can laugh. And the audience laughs with him.
And it's funnier. I bet it's funnier to him. He gets more joy out of it knowing there's an audience, just like anything is funnier when you're among people and not by yourself.
And I don't know if you could feel the laughter through the floor. I don't know any about that process. But what struck me was, here is someone who is so grounded in whatever their craft is that they don't need external validation for them to do their best work.
Right on.
And so for me, and this gets to the point you were making earlier, the habit is for us. I don't need external validation that somebody knows that I feel this way about them. I just get to feel this way about them because my results are better when I do. My internal chemistry is better. I drink less, less rat poison. When I decide to connect with the fact that, you know what, I don't care how they feel about me. I care deeply that I have their best interest in heart if I'm here for service. No matter how corrosive, confrontational, or just deleterious to my health interacting with them can be, they will still be a welcomed or unwelcomed guest. And the way that works is, I've told you about the story of the unwelcomed guests. They are invited in, they are served tea. When their tea is done, we appreciate their existence. We kiss them on the cheek, we give them a hug, and we send them on their way. This is the story and the plight of the unwelcomed guest, right? And so understanding that for us, and this will hopefully bring us back to where we started, leadership with all your resources, including love, agape, connection, focus, passion. All of these are on the spectrum of the same engagement of energy that it takes for us to be in line with our best and most effective selves, gets to be on the palette that allows us to do and engage our best work and engage our best efforts out of the people that we lead. And to leave that on the table under the cowardice of the excuse of professionalism is just like saying, I'm not going to use any of our resources, but I want great work to be done.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right. The imbalance, reminds me of the imbalance of loyalty as well, right? It's like, I'm not going to, as an employer, I don't really feel any sense of loyalty to my employees. I sure want my employees to be loyal to me. The calling it cowardice, I think, really hits home. And I'll put the flip on it, right? The courage to be a whole person as a leader, to not, and I think a whole person, it cannot be indifferent to those around them, and think of them as simple functionaries.
Yes.
The courage to be a whole person with whole people on your team. That's what Hugh and I are here to support each other with, and to support you who are with us for this episode of Leading Uncertain: Adventures in Confusion, Power, Love,
And dignity.
our focus today, and dignity. Anything you want to leave us with, Hugh?
Just thank you. I think this is episode like 31. And I appreciate your focus, dedication, and commitment to having these conversations through all sorts of topics and letting me talk at you with passion and pride and hopefully, catharsis.
Yeah, a little bit of confusion and dignity too.
There you go. All of it. So just thank you for all of this. This has been an amazing experience thus far.
Yeah, for me too. Thank you, Hugh, and thank you for being